So we are very pleased to be joined by health policy expert Betsy McCaughey. Betsy, joining us from Newsmax, New York. It is good to see you this morning. Thanks for your time.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad that lawmakers, Republicans and Democrats alike, are recognizing the need for this travel ban, because there is no reason to subject transportation workers and particularly healthcare workers in this country, nurses and doctors and other people who work in the hospitals, to the unreasonable risk of Ebola. Our hospitals are not ready to control the spread of Ebola.
And Betsy, let's pick right up on that. You say this travel ban needs to be in place, but Tom Frieden there at CDC says, oh, if we have a travel ban, it would be difficult to get workers there, etc. Is that really the case?
Listen to his weasel words. It's just a lot of gobbledygook. No one is saying that we should stop planes from flying into West Africa, but we should restrict commercial air traffic out of West Africa. Certainly healthcare workers who have been nobly laboring in West Africa caring for patients should not be getting on commercial flights anyway. And charters are bringing much of the supplies, charters and military planes. We should ban commercial air traffic from West Africa to other parts of the globe. Scientists are going to look back in 25 years and say, how could the world have been stupid enough to see a virus that was originally contained to one continent and actually provide the vehicles for it to spread worldwide?
Now, Betsy, the U.S. has implemented new airport screenings for Ebola. Travelers from Ebola-affected countries will face increased security scrutiny at 5 major U.S. airports. Do you think airport security is prepared to handle possible infected passengers? And also, will this help stop the spread?
First of all, they are not well equipped to handle these passengers. Ebola is highly infectious, and it's not as if one day a person is totally non-contagious and the next day they're full-blown contagious. The viral load in the patient's body expands very slowly, so there are degrees of contagion. But what I'm pointing to is the risk not only to TSA workers and other airport personnel, but particularly to hospital workers. We have seen from the experience of the nurse in Spain who is now confirmed an Ebola victim that even with all of the protective gear that's provided, one slip, one tiny mistake can be a death sentence. And that's her problem. As she was removing her protective gear, her gloved finger incidentally touched her face, and for that she should lose her life. 216 healthcare workers in Africa have died, including some of the most renowned infectious disease specialists on that continent. They were wearing, in many cases, elaborate protective gear, and they died anyway.
Betsy, about a minute left in this particular portion, although we'll continue the conversation on the other side of the break. But when it comes to Ebola, you talked about the weasel words of the director of the CDC. What on earth is the rationale for not putting that travel ban in place?
Well, I know that he's speaking on behalf of his boss, the President of the United States, and the President is a buddy of the President of Liberia, fellow Nobel laureate Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. She seems to have him on speed dial. And the Liberia and Sierra Leone and Guinea governments have asked us not to close off air traffic because it would cripple their economies. But the President's first job and the CDC's first job is to protect Americans, and our hospitals are not ready for Ebola. They can't even stop the spread of staph and C. diff and other hospital infections that kill 75,000 people a year in our country. They are certainly not going to be able to stop the spread of Ebola.
Betsy McCaughey, we thank you for that very sober assessment of Ebola. You, of course, gained fame and notoriety because you sit there and actually read healthcare policy. Imagine that. On the other side of the break, when we come back, we want to talk to you about Obamacare because, again, as you're checking out the devilish details, there's some real problems with that. More with Betsy McCaughey as we follow up on this break on America's Forum.